Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? This is Kyle and Mike from the Fantasy Phenom. We are back breaking down today's 12-game slate. So, let's see here.
Yep, 9 games on the main. I think on both sites. DraftKings does do an all-day slate. They also do have a late 3-game slate. So if you got your feet wet with that 3-game slate yesterday and you want to just kind of do that, or you want to try out the big main, I'll power to you.
Let's do a quick recap of yesterday, man. So, first, some takeaways that I had. In regard, I told you guys how much I was going to look at BVP, and I went over some stats. So first of all, it was hot and cold. Jacoby Ellsbury did terrible versus Chris Archer. Had an amazing BVP. Yadier Molina got on base 4 times versus John Lester. He had a great BVP going into it. Chris Bryant, terrible, absolutely awful BVP against Carlos Martinez. Struck out 3 times. Who else was there? There was AJ Pollock, amazing BVP and a projected WOBA of 384 versus Madison Bumgarner. Went deep. Matt Carpenter had a good BVP versus... No, I'm sorry, he didn't. He had a good projected WOBA. Kevin Kiermaier had a projected WOBA of 329. That is above average. He had a great game. Wilson Contreras did not have a good WOBA, but he hit that late home run. But that, again, is the power of home runs, right? One home run can make or break you. Eduardo Nunez, a guy that we overlooked. I mean, he was a great play, but his BVP, his WOBA BVP was 586. And anything above 4 is excellent. So we overlooked that. He destroyed Greinke. And then...
We talked about him, though. I mentioned I liked him.
We did. I'm just saying he wasn't like a target, right? Like, we didn't say must play this guy. And the numbers told us that we should have.
Yeah, it's hard to say must play Eduardo Nunez.
I'll
play.
Starlin Castro continued his dominance against Archer, had 3 hits. And yeah, I mentioned Yadier Molina. So,
I mean, I'll play devil's advocate. I will continue to, obviously. I mean, you can pick and choose all you want. I still think it becomes inconclusive on any given slate. That's just me personally. I'd rather target other things and use that as sort of tiebreakers and other things to, fringe things to consider.
And that's where I was going to go with it, is I think it becomes, as I mentioned, right, I'm huge on this WOBA, and I want to break down real quick how we use the sheets. So I'm going to pull those up, and I'm going to switch screens real quick. But I want to break down how we view the screens. So we'll look at today's. Let me know if you see those screens, Mike. If you see the Excel sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
I can, but it's still pretty small.
Yeah, I'm zooming in. Okay, so can you see that now?
Yep, that looks like BVP.
Beautiful. So I have a ton of information on here for you guys. This is the BVP tab, the very first tab, and this is this batter's entire history career-wise versus the pitcher they're playing. So here you see Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper. This is their average, their walks, their hits, singles, doubles, triples, home runs, walks, RBIs, their WOBA. So we talk about this as weighted on-base average, and how this works is it's 0.7 for every walk and hit by pitch, 0.9 for every single, 1.2 for a double, 1.6 for a triple, and 2 for a home run, if I'm not mistaken. Those numbers might be a little off. I'll get the exact formula. But through and through, that's kind of what you want to look for. So anything above 320 is average. Anything above that's above average. Anything below 290 is considered poor. And then you have on-base percentage, which is just strictly the number of times they got on base by walk, single hit, whatever, divided by plate appearance. I then have formulated these batter matchups, and they're color-coded, red, green, etc., right? And so What the hell? I just gotta shift this. Look, what the hell happened there? There you go. So, the batter, their total WOBA, given the 5 scenarios that I have, home, away, day, night, month of the year, 4 scenarios, and left, right-handed pitcher. That's his total WOBA with those 4 scenarios combined and weighted. This is the pitcher WOBA. This is what that pitcher gives up. And this is the BVP WOBA. I've then formulated a matchup WOBA, and again, you have this little chart to your right here. So anything above 320 is average, anything 320 to 330 is average, etc. Right? You can see that. And then this total runs created plus, weighted runs created plus, it's a scale of how many runs this player accounts for. Anything above 100 is above average. So 100 is the league average. Anything above that is considered above average. Below is below average. Now, you can dive into these stats and figure out where you want to go. These are the 2 most relevant daily fantasy stats, in our opinion, for batters.
For DFS.
Yeah.
But that's based on last year, correct?
This is based on a 3-year running average.
3-year average, okay. Yeah, no, and so it'll become more and more relevant as the season goes along. Obviously, you have to use these numbers with a logical mindset, based on different things, based on batting order, based on whether a pitcher's on the tail end of his career, on the upcoming of his career. You got to follow trends. You got to watch the games. You got to dig into the stats, just like any other sport.
Tom just asked, do we do optimals for MLB? Yeah, we just sent them out last night. This is actually the exact sheet I sent out last night. So for those of you that are new to the show and or haven't subscribed yet, this is the content you receive. So yeah, this matchup WOBA is really what I'm looking at here. And like I said, anything, I have to reformat it actually because
so just fine if it's positive or
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, if you sort that column there, Kyle. How many players come out to be excellent on this slate?
Let's see. There is nobody above a 400, but there are numerous guys in. I'll have to lock those cells. There are numerous guys above average, which is 340. So anything above 340 is average. These are your guys that are in a above average.
But if you look at this, man, it's like. It's not like you can build a lineup out of these guys, You're talking the best hitters on the slate, and that's why this is such an important stat. Obviously, it's a direct correlation for the best hitters on the slate and the matchup WOBA. So, especially today, there's all aces on the mound, so it's going to be a strange strategy as far as baseball is concerned. But picking and choosing based on pitcher, based on batting order, based on people around them in conjunction with these stats is where to go.
See, I look at this, and I look at it, again, as another tiebreaker, right? So, you have Mookie Betts down here, Bryce Harper. I mean, you look at all these guys, right? If you're looking at, let's say, catchers, you're looking at Russell Martin and Yasmani and Grandal. Like, which catcher you want to choose, you can look at the matchup WOBA and be like, okay, slightly better. Then look at the BVP. Russell Martin actually has a much better WOBA BVP-wise. So he does much better versus Gosman than Grandal does versus Chasen. But then you go back and look at the BVP and see, okay, what are the stats, things like that. So I
guarantee Grandal's BVP against Chasen is maybe like 3 at bats. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So it's a ton of reverse engineering and checking stats and all that. So and then I have here, this is probably my favorite way to find pitchers. This is the team's batting ratios. Okay, so your runs per game, this is how many runs they scored and this is last year's. Their home runs per game, their strikeout percentage. I love this column. This is how I find pitchers. We talked about K being the highest correlation for success. I love finding guys that strike out a ton. And this is one of the reasons we loved the Giants yesterday. Look where they are. All the way down here, they struck out 17% of the time. They put the ball in play. Anytime the ball's in play, you have a chance for a solid outcome. So,
yeah, again, that's the easiest one to look at, and it's easy to understand, and it has a direct correlation, like we said yesterday, and like Kyle just mentioned.
And then another one that you want to look at is if you're, teams that hit a lot of home runs, you not only have this home run percentage, ground ball to fly ball ratio. So a number below 1, which is almost every team, means that they hit more ground balls than fly balls. So you think of it as a ground ball over fly ball, a number divided by a number. The lower the number, the more ground balls that team hits.
Or you could look at it based on league average, and you can see if a pitcher's in a plus matchup. So if the number's above the league average, then they're in a plus matchup.
Bad matchup. That means that team hits more fly balls than ground balls.
Okay, well, it depends on if you're looking at
this is
the pitcher
team batting.
or the
This
hitters.
is batting.
Yeah.
Batting. So this is how many. This is the batting ratios. And then you can look at obviously this. So this is also another advanced stat that I throw on here. And this is one of the biggest ones on this slate. So this is air. This is directly correlated to stadiums. We talk about best stadiums for hitting balls in. Colorado, of course, number 1. Then you have Cleveland, Arizona, right? And your league average is 104. Anything above that is above average. Anything below is below average. So something to look at. And then I have, when you look at your projections, right? So player, everything, right? This is how many plate appearances project them to get. This is how many singles. So this is the chance of this outcome occurring. And that's how these projections are formulated. Chance of the event occurring. There's an 18% chance, given Mookie Betts has 4 at-bats, rounded up to 5 if you want, that he's going to get a single. There's a 6% chance he's going to get a double, 1% chance triple, 3% home run, 60% chance he's going to score a run, 15% chance he's going to get an RBI, 7% chance a walk, and 16% chance he's going to get a stolen base.
So who has the highest percent chance to hit a home run based on these projections?
Chris Davis at 6, Giancarlo Stanton at 6, and then Todd Frazier and Manny Machado, Mark Trumbo, Lucas Duda, Jose Bautista, Jose Abreu. All these guys are at 5. But the two highest guys are Chris Davis and Giancarlo Stanton. Both make 100% sense. Both have actually really good home run numbers versus the pitcher they're playing today. So.
All right.
Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so. And yeah, disregard those.
So I mentioned 9-game slate on both sites for the main. And then there's a 3-game late. So again, if you want to stick to that and see, it's much easier to figure out, obviously, and there's a lot less of a player pool. If you're still new to baseball, obviously, the main slate, this is going to be full of players today. Obviously, it's this is a real opening day for baseball as far as DFS is concerned.
Yeah, so talk about stacking. That's hugely important. Obviously, can't mention that enough. I love to stack at least 3 players from a team, and on that, I like to really have 2 stacks in a lineup.
Although on DraftKings today, it's interesting, man. It's a very strange strategy today on DraftKings because you need 2 pitchers. Every team is running their ace. It's first game of the season.
True.
So if you want 2 aces, which you're going to have 2 aces, it's really hard to even find stacks that you like because also these lineups are going up against aces, right? So It's hard to be in love with stacks today. There's definitely a few, but comparatively to like the rest of the season going forward, these stacks aren't as cut and dry as they will be come 2 weeks from now.
That's fair. Well, let's look at this New York and Atlanta game. Obviously, Atlanta's a heavy favorite, 185. Atlanta's a heavy underdog. You got Tehran against Syndergaard. Logic will tell you this game is an easy win for the Mets, but that's not how baseball works. So
yeah, I think I mean, the Mets struggle to hit, and like I said, Teheran is not a bad pitcher, right?
Not at all.
He's played well against the Mets throughout his career and as of late. So I don't necessarily think this is like a cut and dry win. Obviously, the favorite will tell you 185. You got to look at Syndergaard, but
I think that's more of a testament to just how good Syndergaard is.
yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like going the Mets against the Braves today might not be the best play, but I think we're going to continue to say this throughout every game, like because every team is going up against the good pitchers. Not every team, but most teams.
Yep.
And again, the Mets aren't that great of an offense. They rely on their pitching.
They're not. They have Cespedes. That 3 and 4 I like. Cespedes, Granderson. I don't think Walker has a repeat year. I'm not really high on him. Lucas Duda, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him. Jose Reyes, I don't like at all. I think Jose Reyes is washed, but
the guy I do kind of like is Asdrubal Cabrera, just because, especially on FanDuel at 2.8 and at second base where there's kind of limited spots there.
Especially right behind or right in front of Cespedes, and if Reyes can get on base, I mean, you talked about guys behind Cabrera that can drive him in. So,
there's one guy I like.
Switch hitter. Yep.
One guy I like is probably Asdrubal Cabrera at that price point, and we'll continue to talk. I'm pretty sure the price points on FanDuel, especially for like young players, very low today. Look at Dansby Swanson, 2.6. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, and just for comparison, Tehran's ground ball to fly ball ratio is 0.92, meaning he gives up almost as many fly balls to ground balls. His home run per 9 is 1.08, meaning or 1.04. So he's giving up a home run if he were to every 9 innings he pitches.
I believe he was better on the road last year as well, for what it's worth.
So, and this is on the road, so. We then have.
You looking at anybody? So, what's your take on Syndergaard? I mean,
you got to look at Syndergaard, but
he's obviously going to K per 9's over 10. He's going up against the Atlanta Braves that strike out a good bit. Actually, I'm not sure that they do, but
I'm not going there. If I pay up, I go for Kershaw, but personally, not looking.
I think he's definitely going to be in play today. I mean, Thor can do work on any slate. He added a changeup for what it's worth.
Yep.
I always thought he already had a changeup, but I guess he added. Maybe he's going to throw it more, but he's added a changeup. The Mets are pretty hype about it. He's definitely a stud where if you're building multiple lineups, whereas if in baseball, I think more so than most sports, building multiple lineups is pretty important, especially in tournaments. I can see some Syndergaard. Now, Strasburg is another guy that I think a lot of people are going to be on. Are you feeling it today?
You know, the more I look at it, the more I think Strasburg's going to go low owned.
Really? Why do you say that? He's under 10K.
I'm hearing a lot of Kershaw is the obvious play, right? Everyone, and especially I think people that are unfamiliar with MLB DFS are just going to hop on Kershaw. So Kershaw, I think, will be the highest owned pitcher on the slate.
Oh yeah, but it's for good reason. It's not like it's bad chalk.
No, I agree. And then with that, I really like. I like I like Strasburg. Some Marlins have some good history against him, but he's almost in that. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people GPP wise will pay less for a John Gray or a Danny Duffy than a Steven Strasburg, right? That extra $1,000 can do a lot for you. So,
where I was at with Strasburg was that Verlander and him are like pretty much that middle tier as far as the upper tier. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think you make the case for both of those today. Verlander's going up against the White Sox. You know, Strasburg against the Marlins. Pretty solid matchups with pretty large sample sizes.
Strasburg has the second best K ratio on the slate. Strikes out 10.6 per 9. He does have a high flat ground ball to fly ball ratio, though, 1.25. So he's giving up 1.25 fly balls for every.
And obviously, this lineup he's got, you know, is going to help him get to the win. You know, I'd be curious to see what his pitch limit would be if this game gets out of hand at all.
For what it's worth,
Um,
Marlins were below the league average last year in strikeouts. They only struck out 19.8% of the time.
right.
League average is 21. So
Right, and that's kind of why I'm leaning Verlander against the White Sox. I did see that as well. And then you got Stanton,
Stanton, dude, you talk about
owning
BVP.
Strasburg.
Yeah, if you want to talk about BVP with Stanton owning Strasburg, whew,
They both come out and said it in the media too last year that
yeah, he
this is
has
real.
3 home runs, 7 doubles, and 14 overall hits in 38 at bats. That is ownage.
Damn, dude. JT Realmuto at 2.1 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about punting catchers. That is really cheap.
And we talked about how consistent the dude is, and he hits better away.
And he can steal bases too.
Yep, right in front of Yelich, who
I'd be
also has
curious
good
to
history
see-
versus Strasburg. Dude, you could legitimately make a Marlins stack today and be contrarian. It's not going to be
What's
high
your-
owned at all.
Did they? I don't think they batted Realmuto in the 2-hole last year.
No, they always
I thought
batted
he
him
was
1.
smart.
They always did
I
1.
thought he was. Yeah. So with D Gordon, you see maybe some bunting him over. I know that's not really part of baseball anymore, but
I don't
you
know.
got to consider it.
Maybe later in the games. I don't see him doing it in the. I think Real Muto gets at least 3 real at bats, probably 4.
Yep, and they're gonna pitch to him.
Yeah, because you
Um,
got Yelich and Stanton behind, and then Ozuna, who has good history versus Strasburg as well. So
But also keep in mind that Realmuto's BABIP last year was unsustainable. Could have been a little fluky if you look at advanced metrics for the year he had.
yeah,
So we'll see what happens there.
I think a Marlins stack is a GPP play for sure.
Again, 2.1 is a worthy punt. 3.5, I don't feel any sort of way about that on DraftKings.
Yeah. Boston, Pittsburgh. Pull those up.
Again, guys, if you see the starting lineup in green, that means it's confirmed. If it says projected, obviously it's not confirmed. So these 2 lineups are both confirmed.
Yep.
Um,
Where are you going here? I'm not high
Definitely a
on
game.
not high on Porcello at
game.
all, man.
Definitely a game to look at. I think, Porcello, reigning Cy Young Award winner, obviously has a lot to do with his win total. But look, 80% quality starts too. Dude had an awesome year. Reason he's the opening day starter in Fenway. Garrett Cole too. I like him on a bounce back year. I like his stuff. I know he was somewhat injured most of the year last year. You see that only 21 starts. So I like him on a bounce back. I think people will be kind of on the Red Sox because they were all last season and just kind of easy to do what you did last year. And if you look at these prices on FanDuel, Pedroia and Benintendi, both under 3K. I mean, then you got Ramirez at 3.4, Mitch Moreland at 2. Yeah, these prices on FanDuel are pretty wild.
Dude, what are your thoughts on Polanco in the 4-hole? I love it.
Yeah, I love it for McCutchen too. McCutchen's going to be looking to come out hot.
Yep.
He's going to need to do that. He really wants to do that. It's been a wild off season for the dude. But
Corey says
I think you can make the case that any one of these 3 outfielders is the best outfielder in Pittsburgh right now. It's up to a debate right now.
Bro, by the way, Porcello is not worth 9.8 on FanDuel. He's not worth it. Porcello.
Yeah, I think you got to look at Strasburg or Verlander for that price.
Yeah, Porcello, and I love how Corey quoted Cy Young. Fluke year, man. He's not this good. He's not as good as he did last year. The reason he got so many wins is because of the offense behind him. Porcello is not.
Again, look, 80% quality start. That's the 3rd highest on the slate. We're talking all aces too. So
he is. I mean, quality starts. Yes, he's not a bad pitcher. I'm not saying he's a bad pitcher. He's just not a Cy Young pitcher. So I can see I really like, and if you decide to do it, I could see a Marte, McCutchen, Polanco stack.
Yeah, I can see it too, but again, I can't commit to these stacks, man. I'm going up against
on
the former
DraftKings.
Cy Young. It's just like that's something we would never do 2 weeks from now.
I have to. I guess I have to clarify. I'm talking FanDuel. Talking FanDuel prices. DraftKings is way too much. You
Either
can't.
way, though, like we would not be talking about stacking against, you know, an ace 2 weeks from now, right? It's just something we have to do. It's look at this slate.
Yes.
So it's hard to be high on any of these guys.
I don't know, man. I am high on quite a few stacks because some pitchers are not aces. They're just default number one guys.
Right, but 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about having, 4 to 5 starters on the same slate as a one starter, and
Yes.
it's just going to be possible. It's just not going to be a safe bet to go against, even if you think Rick Porcello isn't a ace, but you have, I don't know.
Well, okay. So give me Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman is not an ace. Wallace Chacin is not an ace. They're default number
Wallace
one.
Chacin, I don't even know if he's an actual starting pitcher.
That's what I'm saying. These just because they're starting today doesn't mean they're aces. They're just default number ones. That just shows how bad the teams are.
Right, and so that's the game. Those are the stacks I'm targeting, not Garrett Cole or Rick Porcello.
Okay. I think we're trying to say the same thing. I'm not afraid of stacking against pitchers today just because they're number one starters because they're not.
Yeah, no, me neither. But not in this game. That's what I'm trying to say. I can find one-offs based on price. Like I think McCutcheon at 3.3 on FanDuel is pretty cheap. I think you can go many different places on FanDuel with these prices.
Okay, where are you looking in this Colorado-Milwaukee game?
Obviously, Milwaukee's going to have a different starting lineup probably for the entire month of April. They have a bunch of young guys that they're trying to get run. Eric Thames, for example, big power hitter. They got batting in the 2-hole. Travis Shaw, going to be the everyday third baseman since Boston decided to let him go. Keon Broxton, see what he did last year. VR, so a lot of young talent here. John Gray pitching outside of Coors Field.
That's a matchup to
Pretty
look
great. Milwaukee struck out the most last season of any other team. So, like you said, him and Duffy in the mid-range, I think, are going to be chalky guys, especially on DraftKings when you have to get 2 pitchers in on this slate.
John Gray is second to Duffy as actually my favorite pitcher on the slate.
I think I would go Gray over Duffy.
No, I like Duffy.
Just because, like I said, the strikeout with
Duffy.
Milwaukee, young team.
I like Duffy way too much versus Minnesota. 4 lefties. Duffy's been great. He struck out a ton of batters. Like his K rate is great. So
I'm not saying I don't like him, but if it's a tough call, obviously. So one you got to make.
Duffy's K rate 8 per 9. John Gray though had a 10 per 9. Duffy does not give up fly balls though. Second lowest on the slate at 0.8 ground ball to fly ball ratio. John Gray, however, has a 1.3 ground ball to fly ball ratio. So that's the only reason I have concern over there. Milwaukee can hit. They're in a hitter's park, but they strike out a ton. They don't walk. So Gray's.
I guess I'm just more afraid of some of the players on Minnesota. I think they got some more than a few decent bats, whereas Milwaukee, it's a lot of unproven players that have potential.
I agree. I think Broxton has a nice year, though. I think Santana can have a nice year. He has power upside, and then obviously Travis Shaw and Ryan Braun, both those guys, we know what they can do. So,
So what are your thoughts on the Rockies, man, going up against Junior Guerra? I mean, he was not a bad pitcher last year. I think he had that breakout season. That was a bit fluky in my mind, but do you think he can continue to be on the up?
I actually do like Guerrero a lot. I think he had some good numbers. I think it'll be interesting to see how he does. I don't know that I roster him today. I think I go John Gray over Junior Guerrero, but I do
like playing Rockies though.
Oh, playing him today? No, I don't like him.
Playing these Rockies guys. I mean, look at these prices on DraftKings. It's tough. Like I like Blackman. I liked him a lot last year. Mm-hmm. But at 5K, I mean, this game does have a high total. Both teams
over 4, yeah.
Over 8.5, over under. So there's definitely some merit to that. Be interesting to see what happens with Mark Reynolds being the everyday first baseman. on Colorado. Maybe something you play on when he's at Coors for the power potential.
But this 1 through 5 is scary, man. Blackman,
It is.
LeMahieu, Arenado, Gonzalez, and Story. Whew.
It is. And Milwaukee, like you said, is a hitter's park as well, so they'll be coming out with some pop in their bats, I'm sure.
Yep. Here is the game that is the most stackable to me, and I think it warrants it for sure, and that is Toronto and Baltimore. So
Yeah, both of these pitchers aren't quality aces.
no,
I don't even think they're the best pitchers on their teams, honestly.
they're not aces. So you talk about, like I said, their default number one guys. Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Kendry Morales stack. I love it versus Gosman. Let me pull up some BVP because I think there's some guys on here that have great BVP versus Gosman.
Yeah, this Toronto stack's in play. I think Devin Travis, too, obviously. Finally healthy. This dude's a lightning bolt when he's on the field. If he's going to maintain that leadoff spot, again, that's a projected starting lineup. I'm not sure if that's come out yet. Let me just check real quick while you're doing that.
I imagine it has because this Padres.
Yeah, I imagine it has
out.
to. Yep. Devin Travis is going to lead off. So it's Travis, Donaldson, Bautista, Morales, Tulowitzki, Martin, Steve Pierce, Kevin Pillar, Ezekiel Carrera. Did I get that right?
Justin Smoke. So Pierce will
Steve
start
Pierce
over Justin Smoke. By the way, Pierce has a really good matchup. Wilba. So for what it's worth, punt worthy. Just something to look at. I love Devon Travis in the leadoff spot. Again, Josh Donaldson, great play. Bautista. We talked about Morales. I think he's gonna have a really, really nice year in that 4-hole in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at this Baltimore lineup, though, we talked about Chris Davis. Great matchup. Wellington Castillo has most home runs versus any pitcher on the slate. So he has 4 career home runs versus Estrada in 23 at bats. So Castillo is extremely punt catcher.
He's one of those reverse split guys, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so could be something there. Marcus Estrada's not a very good pitcher in my mind. I mean, he's all right.
Castillo's my favorite catcher on the slate, though. Hands down. I like his home run potential. Chris Davis, I mentioned his home runs. Jonathan Scope as well is another guy. I know he's batting 8th. That's not my favorite spot for him, but home run potential is a punt play right there. Obviously,
the only thing that concerns me out of Castillo, batting 6 concerns me because, you look at this. Let's just talk first inning. Anybody gets on, he generally is going to come up first or second in the second inning. The fact that he has Chris Davis and Mark Trumbo, two big RC plus guys in front of him, perhaps he sees bases empty a good bit.
They clear the bases, yeah.
Yeah. So from the upside perspective, him in this 6th hole isn't great, but obviously the home run is all you need sometimes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, a solo home run will get you 18.7 points. He's going to destroy value already, right? So I just think, you look at home run potential. If there's guys on base, it's gravy, but I'll take a solo shot. And then you have Mark Trumbo in the 5-hole, right, returning home run champ. I like
Seth Smith leading off was interesting to me. I did not have him leading off. I think I originally had Hyun-Soo Kim leading off. So we'll see what happens there. I know Buck really likes him, so he's got some potential. Adam Jones at 3-4 on FanDuel. That's pretty.
Telling you, man,
3-2 for Chris Davis.
Is the game to stack, in my opinion.
Very, very cheap, man.
Detroit, Chicago. This is the game that has the highest chance of not being played today. The most risky game on the slate, hands down. There's just bad weather all around it, so watch for that. Philly, Cincinnati is the only other one, but that looks like it's going to be a go from what I've seen so far. Verlander at 10-2, Quintana at 8-7. The only guy on Chicago that has great BVP numbers versus Verlander is Jose Abreu.
Yeah, Verlander's coming off a great year too. I think he perhaps should have been the Cy Young.
Yeah, I think we both agree with
Um,
that.
so he's going to come out, I think, ready to go. Had his little bounce back year, reinvented himself a bit. Going up against the White Sox, a high strikeout team, really just not a good team at all. I don't even know. I didn't even know who to put in the starting lineup. To be honest with you, I was scouring the internet for something that made sense, but this is what I found. There's two guys on here that aren't even eligible on FanDuel or DraftKings, and they still haven't confirmed their starting lineup. I just checked, so we'll see what happens. I think if you're looking at anywhere, obviously you got to look 3 through 5 with those guys. I think Frazier, hard contact type of player, doesn't really matter. He can get into anybody's fastball, in my opinion. Same with Abreu.
Abreu is the other guy on the slate.
Kind of going to come down. The White Sox season is going to come down to these top two guys, Saladino and Anderson, if they can get on base and do their thing.
Abreu is the only other guy on the slate that has 4 home runs versus the pitcher he's playing. So Wellington Castillo and Jose Abreu both have 4 home runs versus their pitcher. So absolute ownage there, but the reverse is true as well, man. The Tigers versus Quintana, great history. Kinsler has good history. Cabrera has good history. Martinez has good history. JD Martinez is not starting. That's interesting. I had him starting.
I'm pretty sure he's out.
Is he?
I don't think.
I didn't see.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is confirmed. Ian Kinsler, Nick Castellanos, Miguel Cabrera, Victor Martinez. Do I have it confirmed? Yeah, I do have it confirmed.
I believe it's confirmed. I'm just saying I was surprised. I thought Martinez was going to start. I didn't see any.
Yeah, it kind of screws up this lineup because I think he would play where Castellanos is.
Yep.
In that 2-hole probably.
Which I love. I was looking at JD Cabrera Martinez.
Yeah, maybe even Upton or Cheap.
So Upton.
Cheap power.
Upton has a WOBA versus Quintana of 496. Best one on the entire team. Cabrera's is 446. He has a 348 average and 464 OBP versus Quintana. So there's just a lot to like about a Tiger stack today. The hardest part is
the hardest part is he's playing. The hardest part is they're playing Jose Quintana. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's just like the majority of the time, people are going to struggle against Quintana. Yeah, you can look into stats. You can look into try and find. This is the best guy in the team to play against Quintana, but generally somebody I avoid playing DFS. I guess you just have to look at it today.
So, KC and Minnesota. I talked about how much I love Danny Duffy today. He's my favorite pitcher on the slate for a price point. He really is.
I like Dozier and Gross. I like this top 4 for Minnesota. Those players, I generally like their game, and I think, again, I don't like playing Danny Duffy. But we continue to do this on this slate. There's very few pitchers. I think Irvin Santana is maybe one that you can target.
By the way, this third baseman for Buxton is actually center field. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I think I tried to go with I guess that was a mistake. But I tried to go with the FanDuel.
Buxton's a third baseman on FanDuel?
No, that's a mistake. But you'll see on this, you can see, look over here on the other side, you have 2 first basemen. Obviously, they're not going to play 2 first basemen today, but Hosmer and Brandon Moss are only eligible for first base on FanDuel. So that's how I created that. But yeah, that Buxton, he's an outfielder.
Just got KC's lineup. Alex Gordon, Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, Salvi Perez, Brandon Moss, Paulo Orlando, and Alcides Escobar, and then Mondazzi. So just flop Escobar and Orlando, and you have it right.
Man. Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense why they would flip-flop that, I think.
We also have the Dodgers lineup out, by the way. We haven't got to that game yet. And we also have the Tigers lineup. That's confirmed.
Right.
So, yeah. Cool. Royal side. Hosmer, good history against Santana. Santana's another pitcher, man, that I think is a default number 1. He's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said, I think, about. We all watched Archer yesterday. He had pitched in the WBC. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be some sort of narrative to pitchers that pitched in those games being in safer form. I might be reaching there, but so both these pitchers did play in the WBC.
Yeah, I think Hosmer's a one-off for me. I'm not looking at a Royal stack, but Hosmer's a one-off. Other than that, I think this game is a general fade for me, hitting-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing I guess we should do a little better of, is games we're targeting. So Royals and Twins, overall, a game I'm not really targeting.
Yeah, and again, this slate is tough to find games to target. I'm telling you, man. It's with everybody playing their default number one pitchers, it's hard to target games today.
Someone wants to know, can you punt Mendoza? I find a better punt, man. Look at JT Realmuto at catcher at 2.1 because he wants to get Kershaw. If you want to punt, man, look at JT Realmuto, 2.1 on FanDuel.
Oh, you can definitely punt. There's so many guys on FanDuel that you can play to get Kershaw. Like, if we built a lineup right now with Kershaw and a Dodger stack like he wants to, I guarantee. Like, if you had a 4-man Dodger stack, say you had, I'd be curious to see what the number is. But if you did, Seager, Turner, Gonzalez, Grandal, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Kershaw, I guarantee you'd still have $3,500 per player to spend. It's just too cheap today.
Oops, put it on the wrong side. Dodgers. All right, so, I mean, there's really not anything to be said about Peyton Kershaw.
Mm-hmm.
Other than he can't win in the postseason, but that's another story.
You do have to mention that Julius Chastain was only a starter for half the year. He was a long reliever prior to the trade, and now he's their number one starter. So
he's still not a good play. 5.5.
He is. No, I'm saying the target. Like, this is the prime pitcher to target, in my opinion, on this entire slate. He's the worst pitcher on the slate.
I agree. Yeah. So you talk about team stacks, right? Like, I look at the Baltimore, I look at Toronto, and I look at Dodgers. And then the next
entire Dodgers team is below 3.6 on FanDuel.
Yep. I like Seager. I like Turner. Agon, yeah, kind of. I like Grandal more. And then
So this lineup just came out. I think Grandal was dropped in the order. It's actually Tolis, Seager, Turner, Gonzalez, Forsythe, Peterson, Grandal, Puig.
I like Peterson up at 7, so give me that. I'm
sorry, I like Peterson a lot.
He's at
I like
6, right?
Tolis. Peterson behind Forsythe at 6.
Yeah, give me that, man.
Yeah, I agree. But I think Tolis too at 2K minimum salary on FanDuel, leading off against Chastain. I don't see why you don't do that today. I mean, maybe because everybody else is going to. And then the Padres, you can't really look at them against Kershaw. I mean, half these guys are rookies or haven't played a full season in the majors, and now they're going up against Kershaw on day one.
Renfroe's going to be a good player in this league. Will Myers had a great year last year, and
Will Myers is the only guy with a significant sample size.
And Will Myers has had an amazing spring, so.
Yeah, him and Solarte are the only two pros, really. I guess Ibar too, if this stays the same.
Margot is going to be a good player, I think, in this league. So.
Yeah, I think Schimpf as well has homer upside. Hedges, I don't know what he is all about, really.
I consider this game. I mean, I don't even punt it, man. I literally stay away from the entire Padres team. Against Kershaw, I don't see any reason why you do it.
Do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Someone just said Tolis is garbage, but he will get the most at-bats versus the worst pitcher.
Exactly, which is punt-worthy. 2K on FanDuel, 2.9 on DraftKings. Exactly.
Heck, yes.
I had a question just come to me, by the way. What's usually the cash line for MLB and looking at value? So, again, you're looking at 4 to 5 times value. Cash line last night was exactly between 140 and 150. So, as Josh had mentioned, On FanDuel, it was between 140 and 150. What was it on DraftKings?
I don't even know. I think it was probably around 110, 120.
Okay.
I'd have to look, but it was a 3-game slate, so it's kind of, you can't really look at that as a barometer for the cash line, and as well. I mean, that's for your team, right? So your team was 4 times value. You can't really look at that per player as far as hitting value.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part is you can't really look at a batter and say you can't look at a batter and say I need 4x value, because a guy gets a home run and he destroys value, or a guy gets one single, right? He goes 1 for 4, gets a single, and he doesn't even come close. So
yeah, you cash with zeros in your lineup all the time.
that's exactly the reason why you have to get the pitcher right. Exactly why. You talked about Chacin being the worst pitcher on the slate. Feldman is right there, dude. This guy is awful.
Yeah, but
And he's in Cincinnati. That's a hitter's ballpark right there. I love a Philly stack today. And you want to talk about getting Kershaw in your lineup? Philly stack is the way to go. I'm telling you, man. Franco at 2.9. Michael Saunders, 2.5. Tommy Joseph at 2.1 on FanDuel, Mike.
yeah, it's really cheap for him.
Tommy Joseph.
Extremely cheap.
And then Cameron Rupp as a punt at catcher, 2.4. You can literally do that stack right there. And then you have Odubel Herrera, who's fairly priced at 3.3. Love him. I actually kind of like him out of the 3-hole a little more. I literally look at this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spot in Philly.
Right, yeah, no, but I think, again, I don't think you're going to need that much value. Like I think you'll be fine stacking the Dodgers, which are much better hitters, and you're still going to be able to get Kershaw.
Yeah, but see, I look at it. You could potentially get Kershaw and Harper, and we haven't. We did get.
Oh yeah, you could get like a stud one-off, is what you're trying to say. Yeah, I totally think you can do that. I mean, now, I would stick with 1 through 4 on DraftKings. I don't think Tommy Joseph at 3.7, Michael Saunders at 3.8. That doesn't really.
No, those aren't
excite me.
Exactly, but on FanDuel for the value, 2.1 for Tommy Joseph, that is. That's hard to pass up if you're going to go a cheap first baseman. I don't see a better first baseman for the price.
It's interesting that they're doing Peraza right behind Hamilton in Cincinnati. I mean, those are probably 2 of the fastest guys in the majors.
Yeah.
Going 1-2. I don't see how that helps them. I mean, that's almost betting on like one person not getting on.
Mm-hmm. Well, which makes sense. Billy Hamilton bats like 250. So you can't steal first base.
Right, but the same can be said about Peraza, so it's like he's going to double steal. I feel like you're limiting Peraza's upside by batting him behind Billy Hamilton.
It would almost make sense to go Peraza like... I could see Peraza as a 9-hitter, honestly.
I would get him in the bottom of the order and just have some speed down there, but I mean, he's a talented dude, so maybe they're just kind of going with who's our best guys, you know?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Suarez at the 5-hole?
I don't know.
He has upside to hit power.
Yeah, he's at home. I know the splits are nice. I don't know. I've never even heard of Tucker Barnhart. I'm going to be totally...
I know who that is.
Totally admit that to you. I know Mr. Rocco just got hurt.
Here's one of the reasons I love a Philly stack, Mike. Let me read off the stats to you. And we talked about Chacin being the worst pitcher on the slate. You can make the case for Feldman. Mm-hmm. Feldman's K per 9 is 5. 5. Over the last 3 years. It's 6 last year, whatever. His walks per 9, 2.3. His ground ball...
He's a long reliever most of his career.
Ground ball to fly ball ratio, 1.6, Mike. He gives up almost over 1.5 fly balls for every ground ball.
No, yeah, I can't believe the difference in prices on today's slate, to be honest with you. Especially with the young guys. Look at Maikel Franco.
That's what I'm saying, dude. A Philly stack.
Under 3K.
I'm telling you, man, a Philly stack is where I love it, man. I love a Philly stack. I have 10 $1 lineups in right now. And I have a Philly stack in 5 of them.
Yeah, so the the strategy is dramatically different per site. You have to get 2 pitchers in on DraftKings, and all the pitchers on today's slate are studs. So you're limited to what you can do as far as stacking. You're limited because everyone's playing studs. You're limited to what you can do as far as paying up to high quality players, unless you're going to punt a pitcher, which you really, I mean, it's going to be tough. And so if you're playing tournaments, it's going to be tough to just have one lineup and be confident in it at all today on DraftKings. I think on FanDuel, there's much to love. It'd probably be a lot of fun building lineups. I mean, we talked about some of those Red Sox guys super cheap. The Phillies are super cheap. I think there's plenty of one-offs that are super cheap. I mean, am I wrong? Are they always this price? Or
I'm trying to
is it
remember.
just
I'm
like
trying
weird
to remember
comparison?
last year. I'm trying to remember, man, but
It just seems like seems strange. But is this the last game on the
main, yeah. So let's talk.
On the main?
We got 15 minutes. Is it 15 or 25 minutes? Lock's at 105, so we got 20 minutes before lock.
You want to go position by position? Talk about the guys you're looking at, or you want to go stack by stack?
Yeah, let's look at position. So I'll read off some catchers for you. My cast, who's in the Philly stack? Maikel Franco, Odubel Herrera, Tommy Joseph, and Cameron Rupp those are my 4 guys that I have around in either.
On DK, I'd just stick with the top 4 if you're going to do it against Cesar Hernandez, Odubel Herrera, Michael Franco, and forget who's the 2 hole, but Kendrick, yeah. Catcher punts. Rupp is definitely in that conversation, I think. I don't know. I think you can look at Wieters today on DraftKings at 3-2.
I was just gonna say that he is batting 8th though. That's the only concern. I never really like batting an 8th hole guy in the NL because you have the pitcher behind him. That's my only concern.
But there's not many middle of the order catchers that are playing bad pitchers today.
Castillo at batting in the 6th hole. I'm telling you, Castillo's my favorite catcher on the slate.
Yeah. No, but Castillo's the 3rd highest priced catcher.
Yeah, so I guess that really...
You make the same case for Russell Martin, I think, as Wellington Castillo. That, to me, is a toss-up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think punt-wise, Cameron Rupp probably. Sandy Leon is batting 9th. JT Realmuto on FanDuel at 2-1. Best punt, in my opinion.
I was high on Travis D'Arnaud, or D'Arnaud, whatever you want to say, but they're not playing him today. They're playing what's his name? Rene Rivera. No thanks. No Austin Hedges going against Kershaw. No. I don't know. Omar Narvaez against Verlander. No. Tyler Flowers against Syndergaard. No. It's just. I don't know. I don't even know. Again, Tucker Barnhart against Philly. I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you.
So you're not looking there?
Not much to look at. I think if I'm going to look anywhere, it's probably going to be. You got Jason Castro batting the 6th hole against Duffy. That's a cheap guy batting in the middle of the order. Yeah, I think I look at Wieters. I look at Rupp for cheap catch.
Give me your favorite ace, your favorite mid-tier guy. We're not even going to look at cheap pitchers because we don't do that. So.
Yeah, no, I think I already said it. It's going to be Kershaw and Gray.
Kershaw and Gray, okay. See, I definitely go Kershaw. Agree with you. Clayton Kershaw is the ace of the day. And then my favorite mid-tier is Danny Duffy. But I love John Gray as well in a GPP.
I like Verlander, too, if this game plays. I think I'm playing Verlander over Strasburg.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Give me your. I know you don't like doing this today. Give me your top 3 3-man stacks of the day.
I think the top one is going to be LA. It's probably the only one I'm actually cool with. Let me get to my lineups here so I can see who is batting next to each other. I know we just talked about it, but just to make sure. Yeah, Yeah, Seager, Turner, Tolis. I liked Grandal, but I had him batting 5th. So now I think Peterson would be the guy I would go to. Yeah, Peterson, Seager, Turner, Grandal are the 4 guys I'm highest off of the Dodgers. I think you got to look at. I don't think I can afford the national stack today, just with these 2 pitchers, man.
No, it's hard. I don't. Yeah, if you're looking to pay up, I don't think you can afford a national stack, especially not on DraftKings. FanDuel definitely. So I was gonna go there. So my 3 favorite stacks are Nationals, Phillies, and Orioles. I love and Toronto's right below them at 4. I have Manny Machado, Trumbo, Adam Jones, and Jonathan Scope in 1 stack. I have Daniel Murphy, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, who absolutely destroys opening day, by the way. He has, I believe, 6 home runs on opening day, 5 or 6. So, talk about that. I have quite a few, actually, of Nationals and Philly stacks. So, one I'll give you an example of. I have Cameron Rupp at catcher, Tommy Joseph at first base, Daniel Murphy, Maikel Franco, Trey Turner. I went Scott Schebler as a one-off in Cincinnati, Odubel Herrera, and Bryce Harper.
Yeah, no, I do like the Phillies thing on FanDuel. I don't necessarily love it on DraftKings because I think you can get, like, for example, I think you can get, I don't know how contrarian it's going to be. I don't necessarily think those guys are super proven guys, and for the price, I don't know how much I love it.
And again, that's a huge thing, right? So we talk about roster construction on different sites. Mike is DraftKings on FanDuel, so when you're when you're listening to me, I'm talking FanDuel. When you're listening to Mike, he's talking DraftKings. So
yeah, this is coming from me building lineups all morning on DraftKings. I like the Blue Jays. I like Travis Donaldson, Bautista. I like the top 4. I think I like Russell Martin in the 6 hole, going up against the Orioles in Camden Yards. I know Russell Martin had a really, really shitty start of the season last year, and he is old. But again, the guys in front of him get on base. As a contrarian stack, man, I'm considering going to the Twins with Dozier, Grossman, Buxton, Mauer. It's cheap enough to go. I know Grossman hits Daniel Duffy. Well, I like Byron Buxton on a to continue to come up this season. Mauer, consummate pro. Fastball velocity hasn't been what it's normally been or what it was last year for Duffy. And then Dozier, probably one of the best leadoff hitters in the game.
Yeah.
So that to me is a contrarian stack just because people are going to be on Duffy today. But I like this late slate, man. This late slate's going to be a fun one.
That'll definitely be. They just released it on FanDuel, by the way. What's your? Give me your strategy. So while we have a couple minutes and we're just talking lineups, because I know baseball is still new and so many guys are lost on where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Break it down for me on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean,
literally your start to finish process. What is the very first thing you look at, and where do you go?
So you look at these starting lineups first, right? That to me is the biggest thing. You look at who the pitcher is going to be facing, who the hitters are going, where the hitters are going to be batting. Basic stuff. So you can find probable starting lineups anywhere on the internet. Hopefully, when we have our website up, we'll have our own probable starting lineups. But you go through that. You can kind of look at prices. Actually don't look at prices yet. So then I would go to pitchers. I look at the pitchers. And again, today's slate is totally different than any other process I'm going to have. So my process on today's slate is going to be totally different than my process 2 weeks from now when we don't have an ace playing in every game. So you're looking at pitchers, right? So you have to get 2 on DraftKings. So, for example, the reason I'm going Gray over Duffy, the reason I probably like him a lot more is because I'm saving $1,200. Or I'm sorry, I'm saving $800 by doing it. And I think I think they're,
Yeah, see,
pretty much.
Duffy is actually, I believe, no, he's more expensive. He's $600 more, but on
Right,
FanDuel
but you
is
only need one. You only need one, so I need to pay. I need to pay up for two pitchers on this slate. So that's kind of where I'm going down there. I even was considering Garrett Cole against Boston as a contrarian play because coming off a bad year in Boston, no one is going to be on him.
he's not as bad as
Um,
he had last year, by the way, either. He's a good pitcher.
he is not. No, again, he was dealing with some injuries last year. He was on and off the disabled list for most of the first half of the season, and that's just a recipe for a messed up year.
What it's
For
worth,
pitch.
I just want to mention this. Kevin Roth, who everyone knows, DFS guy on Roto Grinders and Weather guy, he's now bumped the risk in Cincinnati to yellow-orange.
What does that mean?
That is well, obviously on a green to red scale in terms of rain. So yellow-orange meaning not good for a rain out.
Not good. So maybe we see Strasburg's ownership get a bump with people pivoting off of Verlander.
Cincinnati game, Mike Cincinnati, Philly Cincinnati.
Oh, I thought you said Detroit.
No, I'm sorry, Philly Cincinnati.
Chicago. That game is in jeopardy too, though, right?
That's the other game. That game is actually already an orange risk. Shane wants to know, is Hanley Ramirez in play? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batting cleanup for the Red Sox in Boston.
Yep.
I think he's going to be in play most of this season. I'd get him where he's at now at 44. It's tough. 44 because you got Davis at 43, Trumbo at 42. I might like both those guys over Hanley Ramirez. Just the pitching matchup,
Yep.
Going up against Estrada at home. I think they both. I mean, Trumbo led the league in home runs last year, right? So he just crushed it, especially the first half at Camden Yards. I like him as a one-off today if you're not stacking Baltimore.
Damn. So this game is really going to throw things into a loop because this Philly-Cincy game, if it rains out, your only swaps are going to be San Diego, Detroit, which is also a game that is in huge jeopardy.
I mean, Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah, sorry, Detroit, Chicago, Kansas City, Minnesota, and San Diego and LA. So
yeah, so I would pick, like I said, if you're stacking Philly on DraftKings, I think it's the same price to stack the top four on Minnesota. I think that would be the pivot.
It's going to be risky stacking Philly, guys. Especially, I mean,
but right, you still can do it, but you're going to be forced into probably going there.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to be forced to go guys that, what sucks is you're stuck to their price, right? So you're stuck to guys at that same price in other games, and
that's what I'm saying. I think the Minnesota stack is a prime pivot for the same price if you had to do it.
Yeah. I'm looking at other options here as I'm looking at lineups. If I had to pivot from this Philly game, Castellanos same price as Franco. Sano, which I would hate to do because I'm so high on Duffy, and so I really don't like playing guys against my pitcher. Moustakas is at 2.5. I could do that. That would probably be the pivot for me from Franco. At catcher, Rupp is 24, so if you had to pivot, you go down to Castro again, but again, I just don't like doing that. Grandal is at 2.8, so $400 more. It's doable depending on where you have. Cesar Hernandez at 2.4. Some pivots that are possible. Not really a lot scope. Or actually, that game's done. Your pivot's really going to be Mendoza at 2.5. It's really all you have. Forsythe actually at 2.8, but again, it depends on salary and how much you have left. Herrera is at 3.3. Prime pivot Lorenzo Cain at 3.2. You have Justin Upton at 3.1, but again, that's another game that's risk of a rainout. Any other guys here? Alex Gordon all the way down at 2.8 on FanDuel. So, and then Jock Peterson at 2.8. So you have some pivots. And here's the thing, man, with baseball, so many times a minimum salary or a 2.4, 2.5 guy on FanDuel will outscore a 4K guy because home runs are worth so much. So don't be afraid of paying down if you have to pivot. The only reason I'm even talking about pricing is because it limits. You're good. It limits what you can do, right? So it's not so much that I care about that I'm leaving money on the table. It's more so that are there going to be guys that are priced available to me as a late swap? And that's where you have to look at the strategy. So if you see a game that's possibility for a rainout, you gotta have pivots. You gotta have guys that you can go to. And so I'm looking at this. I have a full game stack of this Philly Cincinnati. I have to pivot off of it now. There's no way I can do that because there's just not enough guys. There's not another game stack that I would feel confident in. So that's what I'm doing as I'm talking to you guys right now. I'm going from what's it? Like I'm going from Cesar Hernandez to Devon Travis. I'm going from Adam Duvall down to Adam Eaton. Actually, I could go McCutcheon, Jones, Bradley. I'm going to go up to Trumbo, actually. I'm going to punt down. I'm going to go up to Castillo. So I'll tell you a lineup right. Mike, DraftKings question. Kershaw, Gray, or stack a Boston lineup or Toronto? Can you go Kershaw and Gray?
A Boston lineup or Toronto?
No. So, do you stack Kershaw and Gray, or
do I stack Boston or Toronto? Well, again, if you're not stacking Kershaw and if you're playing Kershaw, you can't do that, right? You can't stack both of those teams. Mm-hmm. So I would try and keep Kershaw and pick one of those teams, and then find another, and then do one-offs with solid value, or find a cheap stack, right?
Yeah. Damn, this Philly stack with like limited time is really killing me. I really like. I'm trying to make stacks out of it.
It happens, man.
I'm like struggling right now. I don't know where I want to go. Right now I have Castillo, Davis, and Trumbo as a Baltimore stack, and then I have Turner and Harper, and then I just have one-offs. I have Travis, I have Franco, and I have Upton. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna worry too much.
Like, whoa.
Tone asked, "Are we fading the Philly Cincy game?" Like I said, I'm not completely.
We're just talking about that.
Yeah, I'm not completely fading it. I actually have quite a few lineups with all of them in there. But I caution you, make sure you have your pivots ready, and make sure you know when you're building your lineups who you're going to pivot to in that San Diego game if the Detroit game rains out as well. Oh, and the KC game. So you just have to know your pivots before you make a lineup.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun today on DraftKings because you're going to be forced into playing either a cheap stack or one-off value guys. Again, I focus on getting the stack I want to pay up for is in LA just because it's not that expensive for the players based on what I think they should be. Again, if I had to pick three guys off of LA that I like the most, it's probably Turner, Seager, and Peterson. I'm considering them or Toronto. That's what I was considering, them or Toronto. But then you can just kind of go one-offs in Toronto if you wanted to. Like, try and get Devon Travis, I think, would be a good one to try and get just because, he's leading off. I like Brian Dozier for the more at-bats and his power potential. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about these last three games before we wrap it up.
Okay. We're about to lock, aren't we? 2 minutes here. 2 minutes,
yeah. So any last minute questions while we load this up, let us know.
Last minute starting lineups. Padres have come out with their lineup. Margot is leading off. Interesting. Margot, Myers, Solarte, Renfroe, Shimp, Hedges, Ibar. 1, 2, 3. No, that's only 7 players. So whoever put that out is dumb. Looks like they're batting Jankowski at the 9 hole instead of leadoff. That's what's going on.
Gotcha.
Q. So where we at? We're gonna talk late slate.
Seager or
like
Turner
late slate.
at shortstop. Seager or Turner. I like Turner.
Corey Seager.
Yeah.
Or Justin Turner. They're both only shortstop on.
Trey Turner.
Oh, I was gonna say what? Damn,
I like
that's
Turner.
tough. I like Turner too. He's a lot more expensive though.
Yeah.
Hell of a lot more expensive.
Seager will be lower owned, but you got.
I don't know that he will be, just because of his price.
True that. Cleveland and Texas.
Yep. So Cleveland, Texas. What is it? Cleveland, Texas, Oakland, and Seattle, right?
Cleveland,
Texas,
L.A., Oakland, Seattle. Yeah.
L.A., Oakland, Seattle, and Houston. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately you're looking at which games you want to target. Obviously, I'm not really feeling picking on Kluber or Darvish, but this game could have some home run potential here.
It is in Texas.
I don't know. I feel like you can pick on Dallas Keuchel in Houston with some of these lefties in this lineup. Maybe some home runs. Dallas Keuchel had his good year.
Yep.
But then you also have Velasco against Graveman, this Angels Athletics game. So
that's where I'm looking. Yeah. All right, lineups are locked.
But when you have to get two pitchers on DraftKings, right? I don't necessarily want to go Darvish or Kluber, even though those are the two best pitchers, in my opinion, on this 3-game slate, because Kluber's playing the Rangers and Darvish is playing the Indians,
Talk this up for a second, Mike.
Felix Hernandez against the Astros, again, that doesn't seem like a fun spot to go. So you could make the case of going Nolasco and Graveman. Yeah, I don't know if you can do that, but if you did, you could pretty much get any player you wanted on DraftKings. So yeah, we'll talk this through. I think where we at, what's on the screen here, Cleveland and Texas. Again, in Texas, huge advantage to the power guys. I think Mike Napoli's in line for a pretty good year in Texas. Just to be that guy to get you bombs every once in a while at 3K. And damn, look at these prices again for the Rangers. Delino DeShields leading off for the Rangers at minimum salary on FanDuel.
He's had a good spring.
Yeah, he won that job.
Yeah.
I guess until Ian Desmond comes back, he's the guy, right? Also, you have Joey Gallo at minimum salary playing for Adrian Beltre until he gets back. Obviously, Joey Gallo has been somewhat of a disappointment to the Rangers, but I mean, prospect is a prospect. New year is a new year, right?
Real quick.
Obviously, he's going to be trying to take advantage of this spot with Beltre out this first couple weeks.
Real quick, I just want to answer a question. Captain Jenks asked, are the baseball shows going to be an hour before the game or at a set time? So we're actually going to change how we're going to format the baseball shows. This is just kind of while basketball season's in play. And while we finish finalizing how we kind of build these, but we're going to have offline shows, like 15-minute shows where we literally just talk about our favorite stacks, probably 15-minute shows, how we're going to do it. And then daily before lock, probably an hour and a half on big slates, hour on short slates, we will lead you into lock most days. I can't guarantee every single day because things do happen, but most days that will be the plan.
Yeah, what I'm working on is like a quick show, like I was saying, I'm just working on some graphics so you guys can see on the screen. We'll probably put like top 10 pitchers based on matchup, and then we'll highlight 2 to 4 of them, right? And then we'll go to a different screen and
yep.
and talk stacks. So we'll talk value. We'll talk best overall plays. It'll be like a 15, 20-minute show that we'll come out with the night before. And then, again, Kyle said, we'll lead you into lock with this discussion.
So that'll be the short show will be to, kind of straight to the point, get what you need. If you don't have time to watch a full show or you can't make the lock show, and then we'll have the in-slate, with most of the lineups out, we'll have a full slate breakdown, a better understanding of where we want to go.
Mm-hmm. So like I was saying, this game, I think, being in Texas, you got to look at this game over the other ones, in my opinion. So Carlos Santana leading off, high OBP guy, great DFS play because of the amount of times he gets on base and because he's got a great lineup behind him and because he's just got a high floor, right? High floor player. So even against Yu Darvish, I know Yu Darvish was very solid pitcher the second half of last season. Even in Texas, he pitches really well. So, but I don't know. I can't really look at either of these pitchers going up against Yu Darvish against the Cleveland lineup doesn't entice me, right?
It's not mouth-watering, yeah.
Yeah, Kluber against Texas, I guess, is a little bit better, but in Texas, I don't necessarily like that either. So, obviously, I'm looking at stacks here, and if you're looking at stacks on either of those teams, you're going to have to find the cheap pitcher, and surprise, surprise, there really isn't any.
Not on the late slate.
Well, there is in the next game, but again, those pitchers are not mouth-watering either.
All right, Houston, Seattle.
Now this Seattle stack is something I'm going to try and get behind because it's cheap enough to where I can roster a stud pitcher. It's just going to be picking the right one in this game. Again, the left-handed home run hitters going in Houston against Dallas Keuchel's fastball. I'm all aboard this. I think you can even look at like I said, Kyle Seager, Robinson Cano.
Yep.
I like Haniger. I like 1 through 5 on Seattle in this late slate.
I definitely like Cano, Cruz, and Seager. I think that's where I'm going if I look there. I can get behind Seager as well.
Mitch Haniger at 2K though.
That's true. Minimum salary. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that'll help your stack. Keep your price low in that stack.
When I look at Houston, I can get behind a Houston stack as well. Obviously, Altuve, Correa, Beltran. I think I like Altuve, Correa the most. I think you can go Bregman as well in that, and Springer. I could make a case for 1 through 4.
I like Josh Reddick in that 6 hole, man. I think he's gonna have a good year down there. He had a good spring. He just got paid.
He'll be a platoon guy, I believe, right?
I believe so. Yeah, but
and obviously no Gaddis today, so.
He's not new to Felix Hernandez, so there's definitely some sample size there.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't know how high I'm on Beltran against Felix Hernandez. Felix Hernandez is straight owned the Yanks the last few years. Obviously, Beltran was just there for a small stint, but for what it's worth,
Yeah.
Altuve is going to be interesting playing. This is his first. Last year he was in the 3-hole too, right?
Yep.
He was.
Strasburg 3 up, 3 down, by the way.
Boom, boom, boom. Just like that.
With a strikeout. By the way, for those of you that are new to baseball, or at least my knowledge of it, Nationals are my second favorite team behind the Giants, so you'll hear me talk about. Bryce Harper is hands down my favorite player in the league. He is the second best hitter in history, only behind Barry Bonds.
So you were an Expos fan, too?
Nope. I'm similar to how I'm a Boogie fan, I'm a Bryce Harper fan, which makes me a Nationals fan.
I got you. I was just fucking with you.
No, I know. I'm letting you know. So.
Oh, man.
Bryce Harper is that dude.
So out of these two pitchers, man, Kendall Graveman and Ricky Nolasco, which one do you like and why?
Graveman. Nolasco's fucking terrible.
But he's going to give us A's, so I think you gotta ride with Vegas on this one. It's kind of like a I don't know. There's no Mike Trout in the Oakland lineup. Let's put it that way.
True, but I do like Ryan Healy and Chris Davis.
I'll pick Trout over and Pujols over Healy and Davis.
I'm not. Okay, come on. I'm not sitting here saying pick those two guys over. Get out of here.
I'm just saying you're probably going to have to get one of these guys on DraftKings, these pitchers. If you play both and hope for like a complete random thing, you can probably pay for any guy you want as far as hitters.
So just for shits and giggles, I made a FanDuel lineup with Zach Britton as my pitcher, just because he gets strikeouts. So if he comes in and gets, pitches an inning and gets 2 strikeouts, that's 9 points. And then
you can play relief pitchers on FanDuel.
Yeah, I absolutely loaded up. So I went Zach Britton, and then I went Castillo, Abreu, Daniel Murphy, Josh Donaldson, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, and Giancarlo Stanton.
I feel like that's something that's a worthy strategy on a 3-game slate, like a short slate. But obviously, you are completely fucking your upside by playing a relief pitcher. It's not like he can super strike somebody out. It's just.
I only did it in one lineup. I really just wanted to see what I could do. So.
No, I did it during the WBC. Like I said, when there was only 2-game slates.
Yeah. Captain.
I didn't feel confident about the pitchers.
I have 3,700 for a second baseman on DraftKings. Is. Peraza, I'm guessing, or Forsythe.
I don't know how that's. I guess late swap. Yeah, I like
Peraza.
Forsythe is in that Dodgers stack. I think he just kind of has to lean there against Julie's Chassin.
Isn't it Wallace?
Julie.
It's Julie.
Sounds cooler.
I feel like that's a terrible. I don't think that's.
Wallace. Either way, he needs to come up with some different letters in there. It doesn't make sense. Escobar.
Wow, there are 40,000 spots that did not get filled in the GPP for baseball, Mike.
Wow, so is everyone going to cash?
I don't know, dude. 40,000. Well, it's out of 180,000, 160,000. So only 120,000 out of.
How many people cash?
The top 33,000, and there's only 132,000 entries.
So top third.
Yeah.
That's about normal.
That's usually like 80%.
On DraftKings, it's anywhere from 34 to 14, depending on the tournament.
Interesting. But yeah, it was originally 180,000 entries, only 132,000 filled. So your chances of cashing 33 divided by 132.
I don't think I have anybody playing right now early on.
25% chance
shoot,
of cashing.
I forgot to make the daily contest. Sorry, guys. That's my fault. I'm blowing it.
Why is it so hard to find a cheap single entry GPP on DraftKings, Mike?
They filled early last night.
There you go.
And they don't really do much for late slates as far as single entries. Yeah, I have nobody playing right now, so I have no ownership to tell you guys.
Trey Turner, leadoff, double. Nice.
That happens often.
Yep. God, this dude is a stud, man. All right. Well, I'm gonna start watching some games. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always.
I'll be around for the lock show for the NBA if anybody's interested in that.
Yeah, and then we'll be in Slack all day, man. We are chopping it up. I'm just continuing to work on the MLB sheets. So, where y'all go?
Brooklyn's on Brooklyn's on the rare back to back today.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Aaron asked, where do we go for starting lineups up to date? There's a couple Twitter pages you can look at. Also, if you're in the Slack group, I do have that in there as well. I have the lineups that post to there as soon as they post.
Yeah, I tend to use RotoWire for most sports. They seem to be the most accurate. So shout out to them for their hard work. But projected lineups, there's not really one site to use. I think if you're using one site, you're kind of screwing yourself. You kind of have to look around and kind of use your brain to try and figure out what they will do.
And
that's what I do here.
A lot of that is from watching games and just knowing teams. Yeah. Like, I could tell you who the Giants are going to start. Mike could tell you who the Yankees are going to start based on who's pitching, like what hand, day-night games.
today is a little different. You know, I wasn't very confident in my projected starting lineups today.
Ah, it's
So
opening day.
Opening day. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. We will talk to you on. Whoa, what happened here? We'll talk to you on the Slack group and elsewhere. So have a wonderful day. Best of luck today. And what the hell just happened?